Now, Suzanne Hunter here at the Holistic Centre in the heart of Godalming as part of the Good Health Guys series, and I'm delighted to have with me coaching therapist Laurie Harvey.
Hello, Suzanne.
It's lovely to talk to you today.
Thank you.
Now, of course, you do coach people in many different ways. How do you coach people, and what sort of people come to you at the centre here?
I work mainly with women and helping them increase their confidence, self-confidence, self-esteem, those kinds of issues. It's when we lack confidence, very often it's due to habitual thought patterns, habitual emotions and habitual behaviours. People tend to know that they have habits of behaviour. We all get up in the morning and we crawl out of bed and go to the shower, clean our teeth without giving it much thought at all. And these sorts of behaviours are just habits. It's what our brain does, and our brain does that 95% of the time. It's just repeating old behaviours over and over again. But a lot of people don't realise that we do that with thought patterns as well, that we have these repetitive thought patterns going on, and they undermine our confidence. If you've got a voice going round in your head, and most of us have an inner critic at some level saying, you can't do that, you're not good enough, clever enough, slim enough, pretty enough. And so these habitual, they become like a pop song that you keep hearing, and then eventually you start singing it to yourself and you don't even like it, you're just in tune with the song, and that's what happens with your thoughts. And we do learn by repetition, which means that soon enough we believe them. So if we've got this inner critic keep saying, you can't do that, you're not good enough, we start to believe it, and it means that we play small. So my role using cognitive hypnotherapy is to help people change their thoughts, patterns of thoughts, behaviour and emotions, to ones that are more positive. So I tend to take people on a journey where they can let go of some of those old habits and create new habits of thoughts and emotions, and live more wholeheartedly in the world, and do things like that they may not be able to do before, and that sort of includes public speaking and weight loss, those kinds of things that hold us back from being who we want to be.
I mean, it's everybody goes through that. I don't think anyone that doesn't, but it's very difficult to break a habit, isn't it? How do you go about breaking that down and help coaching people through that process?
Well, first of all, we'd get together and have a session, and I'd listen for the patterns that they're creating in their behaviour and their thought. Again, the nature of habits is we don't recognise very often we're doing it. And having someone standing out on the outside looking in, it can be much easier to say, how's that helping you? And then we can identify what's keeping you small, what's helping you live a life that's less than perhaps that you want to live, and change them. So I use techniques from NLP, and eye movement integration, and
could you just explain NLP?
Sorry, yes. Neuro-linguistic programming. It's how the brain interprets how we use our language to inform who we are, how our brain works. So again, we're looking at, okay, if you keep having these thoughts, how is your brain creating them, sustaining them? And we have techniques that we can use using visualization and things to just change the way they're stored in our brain to enable us to come up with more creative ideas. And being on a coaching program, then what I'm doing is supporting people through a process so that eventually, when we've sort of dealt with what's keeping them back, creating new behaviours that allow them to keep pushing their comfort zone, if you like. So expanding the comfort zone so that they can do more and more things, and having someone on your side to help guide you and support you and encourage you, so that you've got a different voice in your head saying, actually, you can do this, why can't you? And I think that makes all the difference.
It's difficult, isn't it, to get out of your head?
Yeah.
Something I heard about neuro-linguistic programming, it might be right or wrong, but sort of tapping, that you can tap onto certain parts of the body.
That's an emotional freedom technique. Yes, that's another one of my tools that I work with, emotional freedom technique, and it suits some people, not everybody, and that's the beauty of cognitive hypnotherapy, is that you've got a range of tools and you find the ones that suit each individual person, but that can be a very useful technique in helping people manage situations that they're not comfortable in. That one is particularly, they liken it to acupuncture without the needles. So you tap on your acupressure points to move the energy through your body, so releasing negative energy and encouraging more positive energy to flow through you.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? It's almost like a little reminder when you get to those points of where you're storing it, where you're blocking a particular thought or emotion. You know, when you have a dog and you sort of just give it a little tug, it just reminds them.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
Oh, hang on, don't do that habit again.
Yeah, absolutely. But there are other things as well. What a lot of people don't realise is when they lack confidence, their breathing changes. So a lot of people can't do public speaking because their throats feel uncomfortable. I mean, there's a whole range of other sensations as well that frighten people because of the way that they feel. So why would they want to go and do public speaking if they're shaking and feeling uncomfortable in those situations? So it's looking at where did they learn that behaviour and teaching them how to calm themselves down. Very often teach them how to manage their breathing. They feel more comfortable and the process becomes more and more easy as you become more and more comfortable. And it doesn't mean that you go out and start speaking to huge audiences if that's what you've never done before. It's about little steps, and all of this is about little steps, little changes that add up to a big change over a period of time.
Do you find with people that they it's very often unfounded, the opinion and the image they have of themselves?
I think originally it starts for a reason. We don't create behaviour out of nowhere. Usually it's because we're afraid of the consequences of it. Usually I would say it's probably being judged by other people. We don't like being judged by other people negatively. So it's learning, where did you learn to think that everyone's going to judge you negatively, and addressing that, because our brain learns from things that happen to us. But if things happen to us, one of the things I hear over and over again is people are made to stand up and speak out in school or read in school. It comes up over and over again, and they fall over their words or something, and the teacher or children laugh at them, their peers laugh at them, and as a child that can feel very embarrassing and humiliating and overwhelming. So as they go through life, their brain's always looking back to see, how do I behave in this situation? And if they think that they're going to stand up and do their best and other people are going to laugh at them, why would you want to do it again? So your brain's going to make you feel uncomfortable to prevent you making the same mistake again. So as a consequence, what we do is we say, no, I can't do that. And then your brain rewards you with hormones that says, we saved you, well done, we saved you from danger. And of course then the consequence is that the next time you're asked to do something similar, your brain says, I saved you last time by making you feel uncomfortable, you didn't do it. So it repeats the same process again. And of course over time you just start believing that you can't do it because you don't do it.
No, I guess it's avoidance as well, because
it is.
Some people, you get the impetus that you want to do something, and that's quite strong. I suppose it's the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway.
Absolutely.
That kind of a thing. I guess you have to push through, but with your work, do you help people to push through? Because you could have a breakthrough, but then the next time you're back into that pattern again. Do you help them to sort of clear it long term?
Yes, the idea is to clear it long term. So it's putting aside the old thought patterns that have been stopping them. Because very often when these things happen as a child, we think they're very serious. Our brain takes it as very serious. But of course, if you've just made a spelling mistake when you're reading out a book, it's not the end of the world. But as far as your brain's concerned, it does feel like that in that moment. And because your brain's always looking back to decide how to behave in that moment, it's seeing a snap, if you like. It's playing this game of snap, and it's saying, no, you can't do that. So it's learning to deal with those patterns and to create new patterns. And very often it's just understanding what your brain's doing is the difference that makes all the difference going forward. And we use recordings and things. We do use some recordings and things to visualise things going well for you. And then, of course, what happens is your brain looks forward, because your brain's seeing, oh, actually, I could do that well. It releases the nice hormones that makes you feel more calm. And then I teach you tricks and things as well to use your breathing to imagine certain things, and that helps you feel more confident. So then if you were to go and do a small talk or something, you'd feel more confident, and the next time you do it, you're building your confidence all the time.
That's right. It's like success breeds success. When you have a success, then you feel more successful. But the issue comes, I think, when you don't have that success.
Yeah.
And then you don't have the physical materialisation of your thought. But I guess with the visualisation, you can then start that process up.
Absolutely. We know that the brain can't tell the difference between successfully doing something in person and visualising what you're doing. So by just visualising that, you're actually setting a blueprint in your brain for success, just by visualising something happening really well for you. And of course, that's when you get the changes, is when you're visualising success. Your brain feels more calm, more confident, and able to do that. And that's the same with weight loss as well. For people who are overweight, if they believe that they can't lose the weight because they've done diets over and over again, and there are other problems with diets, if you believe that you can't do it, why would you do it? It's easier to just keep eating the same bad foods over and over again, or compulsive eating. Or if you get comfort from eating, that's another one of those things that very often we feel quite empty or don't feel good about ourselves. And our brain looks around and says, what's going to make me feel good at the moment? I know what, a chocolate bar will do that. And of course it does for 30 seconds, and then you've eaten it and you think, there you go. I can't be successful in my diet because I just keep doing this over and over again.
Yes.
So again, it's giving you other tricks, looking at how your brain has come to that conclusion that eating chocolate, for instance, is going to make you feel better, because it doesn't see that ultimately in the long term it's creating the paradox that it's not.
Yeah, it's a short-term fix, isn't it?
Yeah.
That everybody wants to feel good in the short term, don't want to wait for the long. I mean, talking of things moving quickly, is this something, obviously it's a course that you do, how quickly do people find a benefit from it though?
It's different from everyone, and the good thing about doing a program, of course, is that you've got someone supporting you. So I offer usually 3-month or 6-month programs, and it's a lot of hand holding, so that, you know, when things happen, they've got someone that can drop me an email and say, I did really well at this today, and you've got someone on your side going, well done, you did really well on that today. Yeah. And again, having someone on your side that's saying, okay, what's the next challenge? What should we do next? And how do we keep growing? So we're living more wholeheartedly, we're living more successfully, and enjoying what we're doing.
Yes. Do you find when people get more inside themselves and this kind of worry that, like you said, the breathing changes? Does it become more shallow?
People do all sorts of things with their breathing.
Yes.
And often if they're panicking, we kind of all know that naturally breathing is going to be helpful. So when people are in a situation where they're stressed, very often they'll go, I know what, I'll breathe. So they do sort of this, but it's too late. They're already in the grip of adrenaline and cortisol, the chemicals that your body releases to try and drive you away from situations. The trick is to keep yourself calm in leading up to it. So it's training you to be able to use your breathing to calm yourself whenever you need to, whenever you want to. So there'll be some breathing changes as well. I use recordings as well to remind people to change that habitual thinking. So they're thinking repetitive thoughts that are positive rather than repetitive negative thinking that goes on in their head. So it's giving them the ability to correct negative thinking rather than believe it.
Yes, it's like you say, mental discipline, isn't it? You know, but the brain will just go along with something that you think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like say if you've been at school and you always were told, this is another thing, what you tell yourself, but then what someone else tells you, and then that becomes like, I'm rubbish at sports, I can't do this.
That's right.
It's trying to get that other person's opinion of yourself out of your head as well.
Exactly. So we often learn, if we've been told over and over again we're no good at something, we often learn to start saying that to ourselves. So when the voice isn't there doing it for us, we just carry on using the voice of the person that's repetitively told us this. Sometimes it is just our own voice that we keep doing that over and over again, but it's a learned behaviour. We're
Yes.
not born lacking confidence. Babies are confident when they're born. If they want to be fed or their nappy needs changing, they shout. They don't say, "Is this a good time?"
Yes.
Confidence and undermining our confidence is something we learn in the environment as we're growing up.
With the emotional freedom technique, is that something that people do when they're asleep, or is it something, a technique when it's done when you're closing your eyes or something?
The hypnosis recordings.
The emotional freedom technique. Is that the hypnosis?
No, the emotional
as well?
freedom technique is the tapping.
Right. Yes, the acupuncture.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. The hypnosis, what I do is create a recording for people depending on what their problems are. And then I usually ask them to listen to them every evening as they're going to bed. But some people prefer to listen to it during the day, depends on your own. And I keep them short because people don't like long recordings. None of us have got time to listen to long recordings, so I keep nice short recordings for people.
Yeah.
And again, just a gentle reminder to the brain to think more positive thinking. And I set people tasks as well, tasks and challenges that help them keep stretching what they're doing. Not onerous tasks or scary tasks, it's nothing really, really scary, but little tasks to just change their thought patterns so that you're stepping outside of the habitual and living more consciously, really. So being more aware of how you're living your life and making improvements rather than just doing the same things day in and day out because that's the way you've always done it.
Yes. You get to that point where you probably see it in your students that they suddenly, I've done that again, I'm not going to think that way, and kind of pull themselves up.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the idea, that they recognise, oh, hang on a minute, that's that thought. I'm not going to go there, I'm going to make a different choice now. So yes, that's the idea.
Yeah, it must be very fulfilling to see all of your work and the response from people.
It's lovely. It's lovely, and it's really great when you get an email from someone and they say, oh, I've just done this talk and it was great, or I just went and chatted to this guy because that's what they wanted to do, and I didn't blush or anything like that. So yeah, it's really exciting, and I love those moments.
That's wonderful. Seeing that transformation in people is fantastic. I mean,
Absolutely.
you've got you do one-to-one as well as courses.
This is all one-to-one, so the courses, even though I'm doing those courses, are one-to-one because I think it's more effective on the one-to-one basis because everybody's different, so that way I can adapt what I'm doing to each individual person that I see. I do run anxiety courses as well as a group at the moment as well.
All right, there's quite a lot of that around, isn't there? Everyone can benefit from being on that. Yes,
Absolutely,
yes.
yeah.
So you do work at the Holistic Centre as well?
Yes, I work at the Holistic Centre,
Wonderful.
and also in London. I work in the
Fantastic.
City of London. Yeah.
Well, if you want to experience all of we've just been talking about it now, the wonderful experience that Laurie can bring to you, then do go onto the Holistic Centre website. It's www.holisticcentre.co.uk. Thank you very much for talking today.